Praise to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the class. Let's chant the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantika Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuthapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamishcha Shri-rupam sagrajatam sahagna raghunathanvitam tam sajivam sadavaitam savadutam parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagna Dalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirviseshanashunavadi Pashatdileshatarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratashe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hare Kriya Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Padethanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasali Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Namostate Vyasa Vishada Putte Fullar Vindayatapatra Netre Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradeepaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vaitrekapanaya Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namah. Bhagavad-Gita as it is, Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. We're discussing from the section which talks about three doers verses 13 to 16. So the three doers are Jiva, Prakriti, and Paramatma. Jiva's role is to desire, Prakriti's role is to execute, and Paramatma's role is to sanction or permit. In this way, all three of them, they do activities, right? Because the Jiva desires, the Jiva is held accountable for the actions, and therefore the Jiva either enjoys or suffers the reaction. The Paramatma is neutral, and the Prakriti is not conscious, it's unconscious. So the Prakriti also doesn't have to enjoy or suffer. But someone who is performing Nishkama Karma, that person doesn't think himself or herself as the doer. And when you don't think yourself as the doer, interestingly, the reaction doesn't come to you then. Whom does it go to? Well, it doesn't go to anyone. And you're not responsible because you're working for the Supreme by the will of the Supreme, then the Supreme is responsible. This is something that Srila Prabhupada explains. For a devotee, if the success is there, the credit of the success goes to Krishna. And if there is failure, the credit of the failure also goes to Krishna. It doesn't come to devotee too. because you are working for Krishna. If you're working in a team, the team wins, the team leader gets the credit. The team loses is the team leader who is answerable. Similarly, I'm working for Krishna. Then whether I get success or I become a failure, Krishna would be responsible for it, not me. So in that way, even a devotee becomes a non-doer. Uh, why we have to understand this concept? Because as long as I remain a doer, I cannot become liberated from material life, from material existence. So I have to also understand how to become a non-doer. Then only I can be liberated from material life. Hmm. Going to verse number 15 now. Na datte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukritam vibhuः ajnanenavritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavah. Now, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. Purport. The Sanskrit word Vibhu means the Supreme Lord who is full of unlimited knowledge, which
Prabhuji, can I
is,
read?
sorry,
Can I read?
please read the next one. Uh, Riches, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation. He is always satisfied in himself, undisturbed by sinful or pious activities. He does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desires to be put into certain conditions of life, and thereby his chain of action and reaction begins. A living entity is by superior nature full of knowledge. Nevertheless, he is prone to be influenced by ignorance due to his limited power. The Lord is omnipotent, but the living entity is not. The Lord is Vibhu, or omniscient, but the living entity is Anu, or atomic. Because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for the actions and reactions of the particular situation which may be desired. Being in a bewildered condition, therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with the circumstantial material body and becomes subjected to the temporary misery and happiness of life. The Lord is a constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma, or the super soul, and therefore we can understand the desires of the individual soul as one can smell the flavor of a flower by being near it. One can smell the flavor or one can smell the fragrance. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desires as he deserves. Man proposes and God disposes. The living entity is not therefore omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires. And the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desires of the minute independent living entities. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain to him and be eternally happy. The Vedic hymns therefore declare, Esha uhi eva sadhu karma karayati tang yam ebhyo lokebhya nishate. Esha eva sadhu karma karayati yam adho nishate. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so that he may go to hell. Kaushiki ki Upanishad. Ag- Agyo Janturanisoyam Atmanaha Sukha Dukkhayoho Ishvara Prerito Gachet Swargam Vasha Abhram Evacha. The living entity is completely dependent in his distress and happiness. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell as a cloud is driven by the air. Therefore, the embodied soul, by its immemorial desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, causes his own bewilderment. Consequently, although he is constitutionally eternal, blissful, and cognizant due to the littleness of his existence, he forgets his constitutional position of service to the Lord and is thus entrapped by nations. And under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditional existence. The Vedanta Sutras 2.1.34 also confirm this. Vaishamya ne grinye na sapikshatvat tahi darshayati. The Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, though he appears to. So the Paramatma is neutral. In fact, the Paramatma actually doesn't really inspire us to do good things or bad things. It is our desire to be engaged in those ways, and the Paramatma only helps us. Mm. Like here it is mentioned, the Lord engages him in impious activities so that he may go to hell. So it's not that the Lord inspires us to engage in impious activities. We ourselves desire to engage in those activities. And the Lord facilitates. Mm. Why does he facilitate? Because he's neutral and he is ready to help you fulfill your desires, whether those desires are good desires or those desires are bad desires, wrong desires. Now, one may say, well, shouldn't be the Lord more, we can say protective in nature? If I am desiring something wrong, why is He allowing me to fulfill those desires? So the answer is the Lord was very protective, but you rejected that protection as a conditioned soul and came out of that protection. You wanted independence. Hmm. The Lord is very protective, and we were in that protection, but we wanted to be out of that protection. Hmm. That's why we are in the material world, right? So, because we rejected that protection, we came to material world. Now, it is Krishna's kindness that he also came in the material world as Paramatma to support us, to help us, um, right? And being the provider of the living entities, he provides. You want something bad? Okay, go for it. You want something good? Okay, go for it. Try everything you want to try, the bad and the good. And later on, what will happen? The living entity will become frustrated. I have done everything. I have done the best things in life and I have done the worst things in life. Now I don't want to do anything independent of you. So then that living entity will surrender. Fine. Okay, so in this way, the Lord inspires that person, or you can say facilitates that person's fulfillment of desire. Hmm? Okay, yes, we understand. Hmm? So, um, good and bad are things which are relative and something which we have devised, but actually, everything in the material world is bad. Something is less bad and something is more bad. So, the Lord facilitates enjoyment of all those things till the point that the living entity surrenders. Fine. Next verse, 16th.
Prabhuji, I have two questions related to this verse. So,
Second.
one,
Mm.
we said that Lord fulfills our desires because we have become independent. So, my first question is might sound stupid, but from where these desires come from? Why are we inclined towards such desires? Everybody has different desires.
Because
So,
of our past sanskars, we are bringing those desires in us in the subtle body from our previous lives.
but when we separated from the Lord, we came to this earth. So that time we must not be having those desires.
You don't. have those varieties of desire, but there is a root desire, and that root desire is to be independent of Krishna. So then that root desire then produces varieties of desires. Just like I'll give a very simple example. We have a root desire in a conditioned state to eat, correct? That is a root desire. But then that root desire manifests into varieties of desires. How? I want to eat something sweet, I want to eat something salty, I want to eat something sour, I want to eat something bitter, I want to eat something which is full of cheese, I want to eat something which is full of potatoes, I want to eat something which is non-veg, I want to eat something which is veg, I want to eat something which is vegan. So these are varieties of desires, but all these desires have generated from a root desire. And what is that root desire? To eat, correct? Similarly, all the material desires have a root desire. What is that root desire? To enjoy. Eating is also kind of enjoyment, sleeping is also kind of enjoyment, correct? And then all the desires to enjoy have a root desire. And what is that root desire? To be independent of Krishna. So originally, you may not have so many desires, but eventually we develop those desires by being in contact with material nature.
Okay. Prabhuji, to the level our surrender is, so Krishna, if we are desiring wrong, like we think, now sometimes we say, the Lord saved us. Sometimes we say, why my wish didn't get fulfilled? Why Krishna did this to me? I wanted it. So then, after few years, we realized it was good. So that means our level of surrender was to level of surrender, Krishna will protect us.
Yes. Krishna will protect, Krishna will interfere. Yes. And if your level of surrender is also very high, then you will also not desire things which are wrong for you. It's only when we are in the neophyte stage. That means we are not really mature of what is good for us and what is bad for us. We desire silly things. If you become very surrendered, will you ever desire such things? Why will you desire such things? You won't. So only when you can say a newbie, you know, a newcomer, then you will desire things which are not good for you, silly desires, you can say, right? But if you are saying I'm very surrendered and still I somehow other got a wrong desire, why will you get a wrong desire if you are very surrendered?
No, no, my point is if even we have wrong desire, Krishna will still protect us if we are in neophyte stage.
Protect us, it's okay. Krishna will protect us, and sometimes Krishna may not also protect us because if Krishna allows you to fulfill a wrong desire and then you suffer because of that, then you get a lesson, which is also required sometimes, right? So either way, Krishna is all kind. So whether Krishna is protecting you or Krishna is letting you do something which is not good for you for some time, that also has Krishna's kindness involved in it. So whether the simple thing is this, whether you feel whether Krishna is protecting you or you don't feel Krishna is protecting you, Krishna is protecting you. Because that is absolute truth. That is absolute nature of Krishna. It's not that Krishna is kind and Krishna is not kind. There's nothing like that. Krishna is only kind, isn't it? First thing. Second thing, when you say, if I'm more surrendered, then Krishna will be more kind to me. There's also nothing like that because Krishna is kind to everyone. Krishna is absolute in his kindness. The only point is, when you are more surrendered, you will feel Krishna's kindness and you'll appreciate Krishna's kindness more. But Krishna is equally kind. Krishna is kind upon everyone, right? Because if I say Krishna is kind to someone and not kind to someone, then that removes that absolute nature of Krishna, right? But Krishna cannot be like that. He is absolutely good. Being absolutely good means It's good for everyone, whether I'm a demon or I'm a devotee. But I'll feel his kindness more if I'm more surrendered. And if I am not surrendered, I am, let's say, against Krishna. Krishna may be very kind to me, still I'll not feel that kindness. Right? We go to the next verse. Hmm? 16.
So before that, just one question I had.
Yes.
Um, Ruji, I just wanted to understand if my understanding regarding surrender is correct. So, sometimes it happens that, if you are facing some material issues in life, at last, like you have to surrender to Krishna, then only, like, because the problems are never going to get solved.
Oh,
Many devotees' life that they just say that now I'm just going to rely on Krishna, whatever happens. But the feeling is numb, like you feel numb because I am trying to solve so many things, but nothing is happening, and I'm not getting result of whatever I'm doing. So I'll just be, idle, and Krishna will do whatever he wants. So is that right? Like, can we call it surrendering to Krishna? But at the same time, the feeling is like Krishna is just not listening to me.
well, that is, you can say, forced surrender. Forced surrender means you are quite helpless and you are not able to do anything. So now you say, finally, okay, let Krishna decide whatever happens to me. But that's not really surrender.
Okay.
That is something which is situational or circumstantial, that you have been forced into such a situation. Surrender would mean that wherever, whether you are forced into such a situation or not forced into situation, you are surrendered. Being surrendered means being sheltered actually. Being sheltered means that you know that you are in protection. And why are you in protection? Because you are following the instructions of Krishna, so you're protected. That's called being surrendered.
So at the same time, like we also feel disappointed that no matter how much ever I'm praying, I don't see the reciprocation from God. But then at the same time,
But
we are
then what are we praying for?
to help me to solve some problems in life, or
That's a material prayer.
right.
Sometimes it may be fulfilled, sometimes it may not be fulfilled.
Yeah, but sometimes we also pray that if this is solved, then I can focus more on bhakti. So it
But
is
Krishna maybe he wants you to focus more on bhakti without that thing being solved.
okay.
That may also be true, right?
Yeah.
Arjuna was also thinking similarly. I don't want to fight this battlefield because then I can be more stable in my mind and do things what I want to do. So Krishna said, no, you fight the battle and you still think of me.
Right. Yes. Makes sense.
Right? So it's like you have your plans of how to become successful, and maybe Krishna has different plans for you to become successful, but different plans.
Correct.
So then
Yes.
why would he listen to my prayer that please remove this problem? Maybe that problem is a stepping stone for you,
Yes, Proji.
isn't it? Therefore, scriptures they tell us that whenever there is some problem, we have to do endeavor to get rid of that problem. But you should do only required amount of endeavor. If by doing required amount of endeavor that problem is not getting solved, then you accept that as Hari Ichha. This is the desire of Krishna.
Okay.
No.
Mhm.
Because if it had to be solved, your little effort will also solve it. And if it's not going to be solved, you may try very hard and still it's not going to get solved.
Right.
Like, for example, if someone is destined not to die, then no one can kill that person. Even if
Mm-hmm.
that person gets chronically ill, still that person will not die because that person is not supposed to die,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And if someone is supposed to die, you can spend lakhs and lakhs of rupees to save that person's life. You can have the best doctors, the best medical facilities, the best medicines and everything, and still that person is going to die. So, therefore, the scriptures, they always say that when there is a problem, you put efforts to come out of it. But even if you are again and again trying and it's not happening, it's not working, then you just have to accept that thing. Okay, maybe that's what is providence, plan of providence, will of providence. So let me move on. Let me pay my attention to something else.
Right. That positive acceptance should come. Yes.
Yeah, not only just acceptance, also divert your attention to something else.
Right.
Otherwise, we get stuck with just solving that problem and we start neglecting other things in life.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So it doesn't mean that you become handicapped. I'm not able to do anything about it. Yes, you are not able to do something about it, but there are many other things in life about which you can do. So put your attention there,
Yes, Prabhuji.
right? Put your attention there and focus there, isn't it?
We,
Hmm?
Yeah. Yes.
Prabhuji,
Okay. And next question.
Hare Krishna
Sankarshan,
Prabhuji.
Vishnu Prabhu, we have some.
Prabhuji, we can
Hmm.
conclude like this: the desire may be sanctioned or may not be sanctioned. Okay, Prabhuji, desire may be sanctioned or may not be sanctioned. Acha, if sanctioned, desires may be good for me or bad for me. Good for me, Krishna mercy, and bad for me is lesson. That's how we can conclude this. We can conclude like this, na?
Bad for me, now it's lesson and still it is Krishna's mercy only.
Beg pardon, Prabhuji.
If it's bad for you and still you fulfill that desire and eventually you get to learn a lesson out of it, even that is
Yes,
also
yes.
Krishna's mercy, right?
Due to protection of mind, not helpful in attaining, not helpful in attaining liberty.
Okay, your voice cracks,
Hare Krishna.
so I don't hear the statements completely. Hare Krishna.
Hare, should I
Hare
repeat?
Krishna. Prabhuji, you can stop your video, then the audio will not crack because the
Stop my
video
video.
consumes some bandwidth, right? Yeah, stop your video and then speak, then the audio will not.
If desires not
Yes,
sanctioned,
speak now,
if
please.
desires, if desires not sanctioned, they are due to protection of mind, and not sanctioning means that is helpful in attaining the liberty.
Yes. So you see, it's not about, please try to understand. It all depends on what is your approach towards Krishna. Do you see Krishna as a businessman dealing with you? If yes, then you have to put all those ifs and buts. You know, that, okay, sometimes Krishna is protecting me, sometimes Krishna is teaching me a lesson, sometimes Krishna is doing this, and sometimes Krishna is doing that. Then your approach towards Krishna is more of Krishna being, a result giver to you. If I perform good, I get good results. If I perform less, then I get bad results. So that is then your approach towards Krishna as a person. But if someone is a more, you say, uh, surrendered devotee or devotee who understands Krishna's, mercy upon oneself much more than this, then that person will see everything that is happening in his or her life. whether that person is taking bad decisions, good decisions, suffering, enjoying, materially things are going good, materially things are falling apart. Everything is Krishna's mercy upon me. So it's not about what is happening with me, my life, and then I'll decide what is Krishna's role in my life. No. Then my perception of Krishna is, based on my experiences, right? That means if my experience start changing, that my perception of Krishna will start changing. Which means that if things are going good in my life, I'll have a certain perception of Krishna, and things are going bad in my life, I'll have certain another perception of Krishna. First thing is you set your perception correct about Krishna. And what is that? Krishna is always very merciful and kind. Now, regardless of what you go through in life, whether you make good decisions, bad decisions, correct desires, wrong desires, Krishna fulfilling those desires, Krishna not fulfilling those desires, that perception towards Krishna remains the same. It doesn't change. Right?
It means we have to clarify between devotee and a non-devotee. Differentiate between devotee and non-devotee.
Not just devotee and non-devotee, even what kind of devotee.
That
What
is
kind
not
of devotee?
what kind of
Also,
kind of devotee. Kind of devotee. Where one kind may approach as a businessman, other kind may approach for the mercy that whatever you do is good for me. Okay,
yeah.
bro,
So,
right,
and
right.
all that depends on your understanding of Krishna. That all depends on your understanding of Krishna as a person. How do I see Krishna, or how do I picturize Krishna? Isn't it?
Okay, bro.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, if time permitting, one basic question. We keep talking about human beings as souls we have separated because we wanted this to enjoy for enjoyment. Where in which scripture is this written, Prabhuji?
In which scripture is this written? You get it in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita which clearly talks about it.
Okay. I can message you
Mm.
separately to check out. I mean, just to
When
get
the
it.
living is
Yeah.
okay. Even Prabhupada mentions it so many places in his books. He will give you the verse also, quoting the Bengali text from Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Okay, Prabhuji. Because a lot of times, even when you're going through the Bhagavatam, it talks about how the evolution happened in, like, Garbhodakshaya, Vishnu, and all of that. But it doesn't start from the place where the souls we have conditioned souls have separated. So hence the question.
Yeah, that is true because the subject matter is not presented in Bhagavatam with the logical flow that we want, right? It's presented in a certain flow. So the topic which I'm interested in may not be the first topic. That thing does come in Bhagavatam, but it comes in a different place, mm, right? And second thing, we also have to understand the scriptures. They talk about the subject matter. So when the jiva's desire to enjoy separately from Krishna is being discussed, this is this is something which has happened outside the realm of material creation, right? And that's when the jiva landed in material creation, isn't it? This is not something which has happened within the material creation. It has happened something outside the material creation. Now, the scriptures, they mostly talk to us about what is within the material creation. The scriptures give very less information of activities that has happened outside the material creation because the scriptures don't have access to that area. Like even talking about Bhagavad-Gita, it has 700 verses. How much information does it give about spiritual world and the activities of spiritual world? Very minimal. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, it only talks about the activities of the Supreme Lord when he appears in material world, right? Krishna Leela. But where? When he descended to material creation, different avatars, doing things where? When they descend to material creation. They don't talk about what Krishna is doing at this moment in Golo Vrindavan, right? So similarly, when you talk about this topic of
Yes, yes.
how the Jiva came, this is a very, very reserved subject matter. And because it's very reserved subject matter, it's not going to come in the scriptures everywhere and again, because it is outside the material creation.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
All right. So we go to the next verse. Mhm. Next verse, 5.16. ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानं येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषामादित्यवच् ज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम्. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Perfect. Yes, Shweta that you wanted to read.
Mhm. Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvam Jnana Palavena Jnanagni Sarva Karmani and Nahi uh, Jnanena Sadarsham. Knowledge is always highly esteemed. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders on to Krishna. As it is said in 7th chapter, 19th verse, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. After passing through many, many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders onto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him, as everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime. That living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, when he unceremoniously thinks himself God, he actually falls into the last snare of nescience. If a living entity is God, then how can he become bewildered by nescience? Does God be, become bewildered by nescience? If so, then nescience or Satan is greater than God. Real knowledge can be obtained from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. For Krishna consciousness, okay, for Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away all nescience, as the sun drives away darkness. Even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not this body, but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the super soul. However, he can know everything well he if he cares to take a shelter of the perfect bona fide Krishna conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one's relationship with Prabhuji upwards. Relationship with God only when one actually meet a representative of Krishna. A representative of Krishna never claims that he is God. although he is paid all the respect ordinarily paid to God, because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn the distinction between God and living entity. Lord Sri Krishna therefore stated in second chapter 2.12 that every living being is individual and that the Lord is also individual. They were all individuals in the past, they are individuals at present, and they will continue to be individuals in the future even after liberation. At night, we see everything as one in the darkness, but in day, when the sun is up, we see everything in real identity. Identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you. So this section gets over here, uh, three doers. And the next is the last section in this chapter, which is liberation achieved by meditation on super soul. Hmm. Through Nishkam Karma Yoga, also one can come to see that there is super soul in us and also in others. One can achieve the same state of uh, consciousness by Ashtanga Yoga, which will be explained in chapter 6. But the same can also be understood by Nishkam Karma Yoga. Um, so here, a Nishkam Karma Yogi experiencing the super soul is being explained in verses 17 to 29. All right. So verse number 17. Tad buddhayastanaatmanas tannishthastatparayanaha gachanti punar avrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Yes, Sharada.
The supreme transcendental truth is Lord Krishna. The whole Bhagavad-Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. That is the version of all Vedic literature. Paratattva means the supreme reality, who is understood by the knowers of the supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan, or the supreme personality of Godhead, is the last word in the absolute. There is nothing more than that. Lord says, Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. Impersonal Brahman is also supported by Krishna. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality. One whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna. Or, in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. A Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity, and individuality in Krishna. And equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you. Next verse. विद्या विनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि शुनि चैव शभाके च पंडिताः समदर्शिनः. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. So this equal vision comes because of knowledge, pure knowledge, and that also comes because of seeing that there is the super soul and there is the soul inside the living entity. Hmm? And the external body is not the actual identity of the living entity. So this vision comes. Fine. Because of this vision, one will be very careful of not causing any pain to anyone, um, and also trying to serve people so as to bring them some benefit. But this equal vision doesn't mean that there'll be equal behavior in all circumstances to everyone. That is a misunderstanding. Sometimes people think equal vision means equal rights. So, and equal behavior with everyone. But it's not like that. Equal vision means you uh, don't do anything morally wrong, anything ethically wrong, anything spiritually wrong, anything which will be wrong for that person's spiritual development or even, material development. But you will also not artificially try to see everyone equally on material grounds. You will also see that because these are different living entities situated in different material bodies with different material natures, on the material platform, you are going to treat them differently. But in core, you will see them as equal. One, because they are all spirit souls, part and parcel of the Super Soul. Fine, Srila Prabhupada talks about this again in Sri Upanishad. He says this equal vision is not something that you can flaunt. Flaunt means you can't pretend or you can't just, uh, um, so to say, um, show off that I treat everyone equally. No, this equal vision can only come by being elevated in one's consciousness. Okay? And only someone who is exalted in consciousness, pure devotees of Krishna or self-realized yogis, they may see everyone with that equal vision. Perfect. Very good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Purport. A Krishna conscious person does not make any distinction between species and caste. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the point of view of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme. For this Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned, in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend. It maintains himself as a Paramatma regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahmana. Although the body of a Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same, the bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the supersoul within the body are the same spiritual quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the supersoul, however, does not make them equal in quantity, for the individual soul is present only in the particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and the supersoul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the super soul is conscious of all bodies. The super soul is present in all bodies without distinction. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes. In this verse, very interestingly, you can see that all the varieties of living entities are covered. by mentioning of human beings who are in utmost goodness, like the Brahmana, and also the human being who is in utmost ignorance, a dog eater. So from dog eater to a Brahmana, everyone is covered. Similarly, in animals, the three types of animals are mentioned: cows, elephants, and dogs. So cow symbolizes sattva guna, elephant symbolizes rajaguna, dog symbolizes tamoguna. So that also covers the entire variety of animal species. So a living entity who is in this consciousness will see everyone, whether that's a saint or that's a sinner, thief or a very moral person, everyone, regardless of which mode is controlling them, equally as spirit, soul. That is something very distinct quality achieved by that person, which a materialistic person cannot have as equal vision. Not possible. So can we do an exercise now? How does formation of iskcon and iskcon's different purposes show equal vision of Srila Prabhupada? We can list out some points. How does formation of iskcon and iskcon's different purposes show equal vision of Srila Prabhupada?
Prabhuji,
Yes, you can start answering. Shweta Mataji, you are saying something. You have to unmute yourself.
Prabhuji, I was sorry. To answer this, I'm not able to understand. Like a spiritual master see everyone with equal eyes. Means he see
And
everyone
it's
as a
very
spirit.
clear how does Srila Prabhupada's equal vision can be seen in formation of ISKCON and ISKCON's different purposes. Give
Prabhuji, may I
practical, give
attempt?
practical philosophical answer to this. Practically, how does
Prabhuji,
Srila Prabhupada?
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
okay. So we have
Prabhuji,
someone in the chat mentioned he started Krishna consciousness internationally. Yes,
Yeah.
so that is correct. He didn't want to limit it to only Indians or Brahmanas or Bengalis. He started internationally. Second, okay, food for life, prasadam for all. Fine, that's included. Goshala at temples. Okay, so we take care of cows. Yeah,
wanted
so
a hip.
actually the main question is only one answer. And what is that one answer? That answer is he gave Krishna consciousness to everyone. That is the answer.
Yeah, he
Whether it
gave
is,
Krishna consciousness also and
yeah, he gave Krishna
everyone.
consciousness to everyone. Equal opportunities. Whether you are
And
American, Indian, whether you are tribal, whether you are living in a city, you're a man, you're a woman, you're a child, you're an old man, you're rich, you're poor, whether you believe in God, you don't believe in God, you're Hindu, you're Muslim, you're Christian, you're Buddhist, it doesn't matter. Open for all.
method is also same.
Hmm?
Method is also same.
Yeah, Methodist, yes. So he gave Krishna conscious opportunities to everyone. That's his equal vision. And that's what Prabhupada said. That's my samadrishti. I don't have other samadrishtis, but I have this samadrishti that Krishna bhakti should be for everyone.
But
Open for all.
would his love would be same for everyone?
Hmm?
Uh,
Sorry?
e- Equal vision means he see everyone as spirit soul. So, but
Yeah.
would his feelings and love would be same for everyone?
Yes, but it will not be expressed equally and similarly to everyone.
But inside it is same.
Of course, it's the same. If you are a good person, you're a good person. You're not good for some and bad for some,
Okay.
right? That is absolute goodness, na? If my goodness is conditional, then I'm good for some and bad for some, then I can't call myself a good person, is it?
Then why dealings in showing in
So
material is different?
only when someone is pure, because you have a material body, and that's why there has to be difference. You have to be little logical. If it's going to be same, that means that I should go and embrace a snake also, and I should go and embrace my god brother also.
Because our world is materialistic, so they have to behave like that. But that is
They have to be a different. Yes, if one starts thinking, oh, because we are equal to all, we'll materially also treat everyone equally, then that is not correct. That's not correct. You have to follow the law of nature also. So Prabhupada sometimes criticized such bogus swamis who you know uh, who kind of promoted or advertised their equal vision. He said that he's a sannyasi and he's embracing his female disciples. And when people are asking him how can you being a sannyasi embrace female disciples, he said, man and women, they are all equal to me. I don't see the difference. So he said, this is not the equality that Krishna is talking about in Bhagavad Gita. If you are so eager to embrace a female disciple, then go and embrace snakes also, poisonous snakes also, wild tigers also, right? That that person will not do. Then the equality is gone. Hmm. Then equality is gone, isn't it? Yeah. But then that person will not do. So, Prabhupada said, on material grounds, you can't be equal because you have a material body and the other person, living entity, also has a material body. Right? So, you can't be equal. But yes, on spiritual grounds, there is equality, and that is the real equality. That has to be appreciated. This is something which is very important for us to understand because we may also start developing unreasonable expectations from someone in the name of whether that person loves me or not, or cares me for or not. Because the love or care if a person has for someone else, it will not be expressed similarly, right? Equally, similarly, because it all depends on what is the material body of that person and what is your material body. It matters. There's going to be difference in that, right? So we have to understand this very nicely in terms of dealings. So Prabhupada's equal vision was the process is for everyone, everyone should be allowed. Yeah. Next. This is again one more point to be discussed, one more topic. For different people, different spiritualists, they see equality in different ways. Like depends on what is happening to them, what is happening around them. A devotee will see everything as Krishna's kindness. Hmm. Whereas someone who is a Brahmavadi and impersonalist will see everything situated in Brahman. And a Paramatmavadi will see everything being orchestrated by Super Soul. By Super Soul. That Super Soul is arranging everything to be done. And that's how they develop their equal vision. So different people come to this state of equanimity in different ways. All right. Next. 19. Uh, ihaiva te jitah sargo yesham samya sthitam manah nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te sthitah. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. So, if you become like Brahman, you are in Brahman. and then you don't have material birth and death again. These are the qualities of Brahman. Therefore, achieving those qualities make you same as Brahman. Hmm. Material world is a place of dualities. As long as there's going to be duality in our personality, in our characteristics, we are a part of material life. But when we start exhibiting the qualities of Brahman, then we are in Brahman, right? You are situated on that platform. Um, Next, let's read the purport. Aladani Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada. Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is a sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. Mhm.
Next text. Na prahishyet priyam prapya no dvijet prapya cha priyam sthira buddhir asammulo brahmavid brahmani sthitah. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. Self-intelligent here doesn't mean that, uh, that okay, that person has his own intelligence. Self-intelligent means whose intelligence is situated in the self. Sthir buddhi, situated in the self. That person, uh, unbewildered, hmm, knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. Abhesina Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The symptoms of the self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to his body. The steadiness of mind is called sthira buddhi or self-intelligence. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of the Absolute Truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization or self realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
बाह्यस्पर्शेष्वसक्तात्मा विन्दति आत्मनि यत् सुखम् स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखम् अक्षयमश्नुते. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Sankarshan Vishnu Prabhu should please read.
कोई धन्यवाद प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
Sankarshan Vishnu Prabhu, you have to.
Hare Krishna. Papat. Shri
Yes, Prabhuji,
Yamuna,
please read.
Shri Yamunacharya, a great devotee of Krishna in Krishna consciousness, said, Yad Yad Avadhi Mama Cheta Krishna Padarvinde Nava Nava Rasa Dhamni Udyatam Rantam Asit Tad Avadhi Bata Nari Sangame Samranjamane Bhavati Mukta Bhavati Mukha Vikara Sustun Nishtivam Cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him. Whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit as at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. A person in Brahma Yoga or in Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the law, in the loving service of the Lord, that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure together. The highest pleasure in terms of matter is sex pleasure, though the whole world is moving under its spell, and a materialist cannot work at all without this motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with greater vigor without sex pleasure, which she avoids. That is the test of spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. A Krishna conscious person is not attracted to the kind of self pleasure due to his being liberated soul. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Next verse. ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्त कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So why a wise person does not engage in sense gratification? Because he understands or she understands that such pleasures, which are sensual pleasures, they also have misery in it. So it's like a part of it. You can't escape it. If you buy it, you get the misery part also. And therefore, they are not so interested, so much interested in that. And that understanding this, they have disconnected them from the idea of material sense gratification. It's very easy to understand that as long as you are, um, when you know, as long as you don't know about the ill effects of something, you may have infatuation for that thing. But once you understand that that is not healthy for you anyway, then you are no longer infatuated. So the yogi or a wise person understands that material sense gratification, it comes with a heavy price. What is that heavy price? First of all, you have to work very hard to get it. And even if you get it, when you take part in it, you try to enjoy it, then you also suffer along with, that little experience of happiness that you get. So a wise person understands that it was not a good deal. It was not a good deal to spend so much of time endeavoring for it. So then that person makes a resolve that I should not make further such plans of doing material sense gratification or engaging in material sense gratification. I'll not waste my time anymore in it. So such pleasures have a beginning and an end. And so the wise man does not delight in them. Is not very excited about them. So this is explained here. So if you are not interested in the external world, you can then focus in the internal world. Otherwise, it's very difficult to change the focus, divert one's attention to the internal world. Very difficult.
Uh, Prabhuji,
And
sorry.
therefore, don't interrupt, please. Let me continue and complete. So, therefore, sometimes the material nature, by the mercy of Krishna, jeopardizes our plans in the external world. Because when our plans get spoiled, we then start thinking of the internal world. Otherwise, we'll be just, wildly chasing our dreams in the external reality. Sometimes there's a kick, from material nature, and everything falls apart. And then you become a little sober and you start realizing maybe I'm working in the wrong direction. I should be putting my efforts somewhere else. Right? Till that point doesn't come in one's life. Spiritual life doesn't begin for many people. Mhm. And for those for whom it begins also, they forget this point. Many times it happens with us. We forget this thing that ye hi sangsparsha bhoga dukha yo na evate. So again we start endeavoring in the wrong direction. But sooner again our plan fails. So then we are reminded, no, you have to go in the other direction. Start working in the other direction. Right? So this is an experience of a wise man, which is explained in this verse. That's how a wise person sees the world, the reality. And those who are not wise, those who are foolish, they have some other way of thinking. Srila Prabhupada said that we are once someone told Srila Prabhupada that you are very pessimistic. Prabhupada said, of course not. We are the most optimistic people. So then that person said, no, but you are very pessimistic about the material world. You always say that this world is full of miseries. So then Prabhupada said, oh yes, for that we are totally pessimistic. For that we are totally pessimistic, no doubt about it. But we are at the same time very optimistic. Optimistic about what? That spiritual world is the most happy place. For that we are very optimistic. But when it comes to material world, it's a place full of miseries. Prabhupada says, yes, you are very pessimistic about it. Mm. So this is the verse which talks about it in that way. Yes, Shweta Mataji, what do you want to say?
Actually, in last verse, you said when someone reaches Brahman, they don't have to take birth and death. But
Raises himself to Brahman and becomes fixed in Brahman, that person doesn't have to come back again. Now, when you are talking about people falling from Brahman, who falls from Brahman? Someone who is already in Brahman, that is very rare. When we say Mayavad is falling from the position of Brahman realization, we have to understand their position of Brahman realization is an imaginary position. They imagine themselves to be situated in Brahman. They are not in Brahman, and therefore they fall because anyway it's their imagined situation. But if someone is actually Brahman realized, it's not easy to fall from there.
there might be I heard wrong that from Brahman, when you go to Brahman, you will fall again because Brahman is a light,
Yeah,
So
yeah. So what you heard is not wrong. But when it said you fall again from there, that again happens after a long, long time. It doesn't just happen like that. It's almost like eternity. Falling from that position also takes long, long time. You know.
thank you,
And
Prabhuji.
and when if one falls from that position, that is, you can say, a mercy of Krishna to give that person again a second chance of of what? Of rising above Brahman realization and coming to Bhagavan realization. Okay. So it's not that someone just went there and then in 2 seconds fell down from there. No, it's long time, very, very long time. time which we cannot even calculate.
But in Brahman, there is no service. Then what do they do?
They enjoy their existence. They enjoy their existence. They're existing.
Without serving Lord, how they can enjoy?
Because there is an happiness in just existing also, free from the fear of the birth and death. That also is some kind of happiness. It's not very big compared to the happiness of serving Krishna, but it is way more than the happiness we get in material life. Right? So, how long have you been in material world, Shweta Mataji? Do you know?
Millions of time.
So if you can spend millions of lifetimes in material world, happy with the happiness in material life, and the happiness one can get in Brahman is more than that, don't you think a person can stay there for longer time? Isn't it? This material world gives us very little happiness, and still we are happy enjoying that happiness for millions of lifetimes. Correct? And Brahman is a place where you get more happiness than material happiness. Less than spiritual world happiness, but more than material happiness. So can't a person stay there for longer than whatever time we have spent here? Of course, can.
Are there
Yes,
relationships also in Brahman?
no relationship. But there is happiness of existence that is there.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay. Fine. Next, we're reading the purport of 5.22. Um, Prithvija Mataji, please read.
Purport. Material sense pleasures are due to the contact of the material senses, which are all temporary because the body itself is temporary. A liberated soul is not interested in anything which is temporary. Knowing well the joys of transcendental pleasures, how can a liberated soul agree to enjoy false pleasure? In Padma Purana, it is said, Ramante yogino nanyate satyanande chidatmani itirama padenashav Param Brahma Abhidhyate. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the Absolute Truth, and therefore the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, is also known as Rama. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also 5.5.1, it is said, Nayam Deho Deha Bhajam Narloki Kastan Kaman Arhate Vidibhujam Ye. Tapo divyam putrakaena sattvam siddhayeda ismad dhamma saukyam va anantam. My dear sons, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasure while in this human form of life. Such pleasures are available to the stool eaters. Rather, you should undergo penances in this life by which your existence will be purified, and as a result, you will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. Therefore, those who are true yogis or learned transcendentalists are not attracted by sense pleasures, which are the causes of continuous material existence. The more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material mysteries. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes. Next verse. Shaknoti haiva yah sodhum prakshitira vimoshana. Yes.
Prabhuji, I have one question. Can I ask?
Yes.
Prabhuji, my question is that in chapter, uh, I think in chapter 2, we had that chain in which we study that first contemplation arises, and then like mind tells or intelligence tells how to achieve, and then we again fall in the material pool. So, Prabhuji, at that time we said that we should contemplate on this flowchart, that okay, where I'm going wrong,
or like we should not contemplate on wrong things. But Prabhuji, sometimes I have seen that I know this is wrong and still I enjoy doing it. So what is the solution for it? Like I know this is wrong, I'm thinking in wrong way and I will suffer for this, but still I continue to do that.
Yeah, because our sickness is very, very chronic. That's why. So that's why we do that. That's because we are very sick. And because we are very sick, we do that mistake. Just like someone is suffering from diabetes, and that person has gotten admitted many times in the hospital because of increase in sugar level. Still, that person sometimes eats too much of sugar or sweet because that person is too infatuated with sugar or sweet. Like that, we are too sick. Therefore, it happens with us that we know what's wrong with for us and we still do. So then, what is this remedy? The remedy is either you strengthen your determination or you suffer and then you learn from your suffering. Only two things are possible. Either we learn from our suffering or we make our determination strong.
Mhm.
Right. And the third thing is, if you want to give up that temptation towards enjoying such thing which is wrong for you, you'll have to also find alternate engagements of being happy or being, or satisfying your desires in the right manner. That is to be found. If we don't find that, then there's going to be some kind of emptiness. So when there's going to be emptiness, then you go back to the wrong things. So you have to find some positive alternative also, isn't it? Like that. Okay. Next verse. Shaknoti Shaknoti haiva yah sodum praksharir vimokshanath kama krododbhavam vegam sayukta sa sukhi nara. Before giving up this present body, one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger. He is well situated and is happy in this world. So if one can learn to do this, tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, then that person is happy in this material world. That person won't get disturbed. Um, Aladini Kopi Mataji.
If one wants to make steady progress on the path of self-realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are the forces of thought, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of the stomach, forces of the genitals, and forces of the tongue. One who is able to control the forces of all these different senses in the mind is called Goswami or Swami. Such Goswamis live strictly controlled lives and forego altogether the forces of the senses. Material desires, when unsatisfied, generate anger, and thus the mind, eyes, and chest become agitated. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up this material body. One who can do this is understood to be self realized and is thus happy in the state of self realization. It is the duty of transcendentalists to try strenuously to control desire and anger. Thank you very much.
Yes, next verse 24. Yo antah sukhoantaramas antathantar jyotirevayah sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto digacchati. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the supreme and ultimately attains the supreme. So this is totally opposite to the life of a materialistic conditioned person, right? For that, everything is external. Happiness is external. Satisfaction is external. Awareness is external. Goals are also external. And for this person, it's totally opposite. Everything is internal. Happiness internal, goals internal, satisfaction internal. Yeah? Like to give you an example, if someone aims to become the best singer in the world, that person will find no happiness in the goal of becoming the best, yeah, you can say, um, the best sportsman, you know, because that person wants to become the best singer, not the best sportsman. Isn't it correct? It's totally different from his approach, his mentality, his vision, his planning, his thinking, his nature. So for a materialistic person, the goals are outward. For a yogi, the goals are inward. Right? We rejoice in getting external success. He would rejoice or she would rejoice in getting internal success. Right? We would rejoice if we can achieve something externally. He or she would rejoice if he can or she can achieve something internally.
Internal means
So
a
there is a
satisfaction.
yeah, internal satisfaction, mental peace, mental calm, like that. Mm. That person feels that is success, that I have achieved something wonderful. And for someone who's external, that person is thinking of something else as success. And like, just think about this example. When His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he hitchhiked all the way to India from United States. He spent a lot of time in the northern part of India, right? So he would sit for hours in meditation. So in while you are meditating, you are not thinking of anything outside you. You are not seeing things, you are not hearing sounds. You are focusing more on what is inside you, right? He would be doing it for hours and hours. And he's not just one personality. There, all the yogis are like that. They can just sit for hours just meditating inside. What gives them happiness and satisfaction? The feeling of doing something. That task of being inward gives them joy. That is satisfaction for them. That is success for them. Now, if you tell them put a lot of efforts, earn money, make a big bungalow for yourself, get cars, they'll say waste of time. And someone who is engaged in doing all that, you tell that person sit peacefully for 6 hours and meditate, that person will say waste of time. Isn't it?
Prabhuji, can you tell what is that satisfaction or what is that thing internally we get on meditation?
That how can I tell you? Because that is something not which is to be described or understood. That is something to be experienced. Someone who is experiencing will be able to know what is that, isn't it? So you will have to experience it to be able to appreciate it. Otherwise, you won't. You will not know that. What is the taste of it? But there is certainly some taste in it, some happiness in it. Otherwise, why would that person be endeavoring for it, right? So here we are talking about someone who is working on a different level of existence. The goals are different. The way of looking at the world is different. Um, so such person whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the supreme and ultimately he attains the supreme. Prabhupada writes a short purport, but interesting purport. Let's read it. Yes. Krishna, is my network not proper? My voice is cracking.
We lost it for a little bit, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. I got disconnected. Sorry, network issue. Hmm. Okay, can you please read Sharada Mataji this purport 5.24?
Oh, Prabhu. Unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This state is called Brahma Bhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead, back to home.
It's very difficult for us to comprehend it because we are not there. But forget about someone sitting in meditation for hours and hours and enjoying. If you are not a painter, you will not appreciate a painter spending so much of time making a painting. How can you sit in front of that canvas for days and weeks and months and just make one painting and be happy about it? You know? But that person is so absorbed in doing that, and that is satisfaction for him or her. You'll say, what is so great about it? People are coming and looking at it and appreciating, and and you spend so many hours just doing that thing. But for that painter, that's everything, right? So similarly, for one who is in that state of consciousness, a yogi, that's everything. Makes him or her satisfied. Next, labante brahma nirvana vishaya shina kalmashaha chinna dvaita yatatmana sarvabhuta hiterataha. Those are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Now, that verse which was given previously, uh, here in this section, we are not talking about there's a difference between an Ashtang yogi and an Nishkam Karma yogi. An Ashtang yogi is someone who goes in the recluse, secluded area and spends whole time just meditating. A Nishkam Karma yogi is someone who might spend some time in meditation, but rest of the day he or she is actively engaged in doing things in the world. So when that person is doing things in the world, that person is doing it with the mentality, I have to give benefit to others. I don't want things for myself. I want to do for others. So in that way, that person works for the welfare of others, not for oneself. And this is something which is very important, very, very essential. If we want to be a devotee or a yogi, a spiritualist, then we do have to make it a part of our system that we don't just want to live for ourselves, we also want to live for others. If we don't come to that decision in our life that I just want to I don't just want to live for myself. I also want to contribute to others' lives. One cannot be a yogi or a spiritualist or a devotee. Therefore, we should make this decision. Whether you are a grihastha, you are not a grihastha, you are single, you are married, you are a man, you are a woman, you are rich or you are poor, you are very busy or not so busy, you are a new devotee, you are a very old devotee. Make a point that you don't just live for yourself. Come out of that zone. Which zone? My problems, my challenges, my life, my goals, my happiness, my everything. Some part of the day we should come out of that zone and think about what others suffering. How can we bring happiness to others? How can we benefit others? What we can do for others? You know, so that is you can say a part of the life of a spiritualist. It doesn't matter whether one is pure or not pure. It doesn't matter whether you are new or old, advanced or not advanced. That's a part of thinking of, a spiritualist. That he or she spend some time thinking, planning, wishing, and doing something which will be good for others. Right? That's very important. And so Srila Prabhupada kind of encouraged all of us. Go out, distribute my books, tell people about Krishna, get them connected to temples, make them chant the holy name, give them prasadam. So an aspect of welfare, giving others some benefit. That Srila Prabhupada encouraged everyone so much. So we should do that. Those who are having a lot of time, they can do it in, you know, at a massive scale, at a massive level. Those who don't have so much time, they can do it at their own individual level. But everyone should do. We all should individually do this. That's important part of being a yogi or a spiritualist. Okay, so they are busy working for the welfare of other beings. At least some time they have to spend it. It's very important. Um, Rupal Leela, Chintamani Madhudu.
Only a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. When a person is actually in the knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in such first class welfare work without being liberated in the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. He has no doubt because he is completely freed from all sins. This is the state of divine love. A person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Krishna, he is actually a liberated soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle. Right, Krishna?
Next verse. Kama vimuktanam yatinam yatachedasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Yes, Vardhayini Mataji.
Of the saintly persons who are constantly engaged in striving towards salvation, one who is in Krishna consciousness is best of all. The Bhagavata 4.22.39 confirms this fact as follows. Yet pada pankaja palasha vilas bhaktya karmashyam ग्रह ग्रहतिहिं ग्रथि ग्रथितम् उद् उद्ग्रन्थयति शान्तः तद्वन् न रिक्तमत्यो यत्योतपि रूढा रूढा श्रोतो घनास्तम् अर्णं भज वासुदेवम्. Just try to worship in devotional service Vasudev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even great sages are not able to control the forces of the senses as effectively as those who are engaged in transcendental bliss by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, uprooting the deep grown desire for fruitive activities. In the conditioned soul, the desire to enjoy the fruitive results of work is so deep rooted that it is very difficult even for the great sages to control such desires, despite great endeavors. A devotee of the Lord, constantly engaged in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, perfect in self realization, very quickly attains liberation in the Supreme. Owing to his complete knowledge in self realization, he always remains in trance. To cite an analogous example of this, Darshana Dhyana Samspesher Matsya Kurma Vihangama Swa- Swan Aptyani Kushanti Tatham api padmaja. By vision, by meditation, and by touch, only do the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offspring. Similarly, do I also, O Padmaja. The fish brings up its offspring simply by looking at them. The tortoise brings up its offspring simply by meditation. The eggs of the tortoise are laid on land, and the tortoise meditates on the eggs while in the water. Similarly, the devotee in Krishna consciousness, although far from the Lord's abode, can elevate himself to that abode simply by thinking of him constantly. By engagement in Krishna consciousness, he does not feel the pangs of material miseries. This state of life is called Brahma Nirvan, or the absence of material miseries due to being constantly immersed in the Supreme. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
So Srila Prabhupada is explaining the state of consciousness uh, in a way which we can relatively understand easily. He's quoting here an example of a tortoise who just thinks of its offspring and gives nourishment to its offspring, and they become, grown up. They become healthy tortoise themselves. So the power of mind and the power of thinking is being explained here. I might be in material world, surrounded by a lot of material problems, but if in my mind I'm connected to spiritual reality, then eventually I will be drawn in that direction. Right? That will help me to come out of my present situation. It's just that I have to constantly meditate on that reality. Um, this is a very fast way of coming out of material life. One thing is that you put a lot of efforts in purifying yourself, but then that will take long time, and the gradual process is from karma yoga to jnana yoga, then to ashtanga yoga, then to bhakti yoga, and then coming to perfection. But then there is a shorter method, less time taking method, and because we are in Kali Yuga, we don't have a very long life. And what is that method? That you put your mind in Krishna, regardless of whether you're pure or impure. If you do that, then uh, that will help us go there or enter there, because our mind is there. Just like here, the tortoise, just by the mental capacity of thinking, nourishes the baby tortoise. We, by thinking of spiritual world, thinking of Krishna's activities, thinking of serving Krishna, we can enter into spiritual world by the power of the mind. Mm. And that is the only practical way for Kali Yuga people. In Kali Yuga, we cannot practice so much of austerity. It's not possible because we are not yogis by nature. We are karmis by nature. In the sense, we are interested in karma. We're interested in fruits of action. If we don't get fruits, we become demotivated to even act, isn't it? So our consciousness is on a different platform. Those who are yogis, they have a different way of thinking, feeling, willing. But those who are karmis or on the platform of karma, they have a different way of thinking, feeling, and willing. So for them to try to become a yogi and then become a bhakta, will take long time. To try to become a jnani and then become a bhakta will take long time. But for them to put their mind on Krishna, if they can, by the mercy of Guru and Vaishnavas, then it will become very easy for them to transmit themselves to the spiritual. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he emphasized on doing something for Krishna practically. He didn't so much emphasize on just sitting and chanting Hare Krishna, doing a lot of tapasya, austerity, you know, reducing your food intake, your water intake, not sleeping sufficiently, He didn't emphasize so much on that. What did he emphasize more on? Because he knows the way of Kali Yuga people, how they are, how their body is, how their mind is. He emphasized on doing something practical for Krishna. Do something for the Lord. Do something for Krishna. Something practical, which will involve your body, which will involve your mind, which will involve your intelligence. And because you are thinking of Krishna, that thinking will promote you to the spiritual world. We
By
should
meditation.
know that. Wait a second, I'm not complete. If we should know that uh, there are different methods of someone becoming Krishna conscious, and you know, um, it all depends on my individual qualification, which method I can follow. So the method which is given by Srila Prabhupada is a method which can be followed by common mass. It's not a method which special people have to follow. Special people can follow special method, like doing a lot of meditation, doing a lot of austerity. That special people can follow who have that kind of body, that kind of mind, you know, that kind of determination. But common people, what is the method they can follow? That Srila Prabhupada has given. And what is his method? Is his method that you just chant the holy name? No. Is his method that you just sit and study? No. Is his method you just go out and do some preaching activity of Krishna consciousness? No. His method is what? You put all of this as one package, 24 hours. You be busy doing something for Krishna. Whether you're chanting, whether you're reading, whether you're speaking, whether you're doing something practical, you be 24 hours engaged in some kind of Krishna conscious activity. And you think of Krishna. In that way, you can get that success. But if we try to get that success through some other way, we'll not be able to achieve. Because that is beyond our capacity. Someone else can achieve that success by some other way. But we cannot. Right? So here this is very important. To think of the Lord, thinking. And in that way, one day will be promoted or will become qualified to become. Next verse. I'll take questions after we complete the chapter. Sparshan kritva bahirbahyang chakshuschaivantare prabhoho pranapano samo kritva nasabhintaracharino yatendriya mano buddhir munir moksha parayana vigat ichha bhaya krodho yah sada mukta eva saha. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. These two verses are not of the same topic as discussed in chapter 5. These two verses, they are the begin, you can say, an introductory information given about Ashtanga Yoga, which will be explained in chapter number 6. In chapter 5, Krishna is just introducing this topic, but he'll elaborate in chapter 6. Okay. Ashtanga Yogi, how he achieves liberation. We'll read the purport, Chanik.
Hare Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Being engaged in Krishna consciousness, one can immediately understand one's spiritual identity, and then one can understand the Supreme Lord by means of devotional service. When one is well situated in devotional service, one comes to the transcendental position, qualified to feel the presence of the Lord in the sphere of one's activity. This particular position is called liberation in the Supreme. After explaining the above principles of liberation in the Supreme, the Lord gives instruction to Arjuna as to how one can come to that position by the practice of the mysticism or yoga known as Ashtanga Yoga, which is divisible into an eightfold procedure called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. In the 6th chapter, the subject of yoga is explicitly detailed, and at the end of the 5th, it is only preliminarily explained. One has to drive out the sense objects such as sound, touch, form, taste, and smell by the pratyahara process in yoga, and then keep the vision of the eyes between the two eyebrows and concentrate on the tip of the nose with half closed lids. There is no benefit in closing the eyes altogether, because then there is every chance of falling asleep. Nor is there benefit in opening the eyes completely, because then there is the hazard of being attracted by sense objects. The breathing movement is restrained within the nostrils by neutralizing the up-moving and down-moving air within the body. By practice of such yoga, one is able to gain control over the senses, refrain from outward sense objects, and thus prepare oneself for liberation in the Supreme. This yoga process helps one become free from all kinds of fear and anger, and thus feel the presence of the super soul in the transcendental situation. In other words, Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of executing yoga principles. This will be thoroughly explained in the next chapter. A Krishna conscious person, however, being always engaged in devotional service, does not risk losing his senses to some other engagement. This is a better way of controlling the senses than the Ashtanga Yoga. Hare Krishna.
Last verse, Bhoktarang Yagya Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Shantim Richati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices, austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So only such a person who is Krishna conscious can be peaceful. No one else can. Purport. Shri Hari Kirtan.
Hare Krishna. The conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad-Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord because he is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than he. He is the greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Sveteshvatara Upanishad 6.7, the Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of the material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. This fifth chapter is a practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as Karma Yoga. Can you just scroll a bit? I missed one line. The question of mental speculation as to how Karma Yoga can give liberation is answered herewith. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with the complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominant. Such work is not different from transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga is a path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute, and the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure soul is the eternal servant of God and his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya, illusion, due to the desire to lord it over Maya, and that is the cause of his many sufferings. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter, for it is an arousing of spiritual existence by practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial toward anyone. Everything depends on practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which helps one control the senses in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above mentioned passions, remains factually in the transcendental stage or Brahma Nirvana. The Eightfold Yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of elevation in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being. It is the highest perfection of life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the fifth chapter of Srimad Bhagavad-Gita in the matter of Karma Yoga or action in Krishna consciousness. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so when we read this purport, there are certain things which, Srila Prabhupada is bringing to our notice and very important for us to understand and also appreciate. So far, we read 5 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, and I'm sure if you have not read Bhagavad Gita before like this, the way we have been doing for months now, you might have understood one thing. And what is that? That it's not a child's play to go back to God. It's not that easy. It's not. I mean, this is something like a dwarf man trying to touch the moon or the star in the sky. Something really, really impossible for him or her to attain. But then trying to do it, isn't it? I hope you must have come to that understanding. Yes or no? That yes, it is a very high goal, something very high, and we are just a beginner even in that journey. So something which will open up a reality which will get um, entrance into only after we have become completely purified of material existence is very mercifully brought to us by the pure devotees of Krishna. And that is the opportunity of devotional service. That's what Prabhupada mentioned in the purport. That you are getting a chance to do something which liberated people get to do in liberated state of existence in the place where everyone is liberated. And that is coming to material world. And what is that? Devotional service to Krishna. Active engagement in serving Krishna or Krishna's pure devotees. Fine, so the holy name that we chant, the pastimes of Krishna that we read and hear, the deities that we serve, the prasadam that we honor, all these are not part of material creation. They are not part of material world. They are not something made of three gunas. And they are not attainable to someone until unless that person is in a liberated state of existence. But by the mercy of pure devotees, the mercy of the Supreme Lord, those things are made available to a conditioned soul. And a conditioned soul is getting a chance to be in those activities, participate in those activities without actually being qualified for doing those activities. You know. And then Prabhupada says, if somehow or other we can understand this mercy of Krishna and mercy of pure devotees, in case of Kali Yuga, mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, and we, with gratitude, with appreciation, with sincerity, just accept this process of devotional service and apply ourselves to it, then though we are in material world, by practicing this process, very soon we can also be in the spiritual world. Otherwise, it's a long journey back to Godhead. Not something that can be achieved in one life, many lifetimes. If I ask you this question, from where you are at present in your thinking, just to come to that state of thinking, that verse we discussed, finding happiness within, goals within, looking inward, satisfaction within, how much time you may take as an individual?
Lifetime.
As an individual, coming from your present way of thinking to that way of thinking, which is given in that verse we read, finding satisfaction within, happiness within. In general, it may take lifetimes, isn't
Yes.
it? Many lifetimes.
But Prabhupada, 1 second.
Huh?
Prabhupada said 1 second.
But only because of practicing devotional service one can. Otherwise, it will take long time. Gradually, eventually.
Prabhupada,
Gradually.
if you surrender right now, you
If you
can.
surrender right now, if you purely surrender right now, then it will take just 1 second. So that process is the process of bhakti, devotional service. Hmm? And Prabhupada says, therefore, we should apply ourselves to this process as sincerely as possible, and then we'll be immensely benefited. But if you take to the gradual process, it will take a long time, which is not for people in Kali Yuga. So we take to Krishna consciousness, and as much as we apply ourselves to this Krishna consciousness seriously and sincerely, we can get the success in Krishna consciousness. Okay, we'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Chapter 5 is completed. Next week we begin chapter 6.
Hare Krishna.
Hmm.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, I can hear you.
Prabhuji, examination is in the Kartik month.
Huh?
Examination is in
Yeah,
Kartik.
yes. It is in Kartik.
Suppose I am not able to give the exam now, then what will be the other alternative available to
We'll
me?
decide. Let's first this exam get conducted. After that, we'll decide when will be the next date for those who cannot give now.
But there is a chance, no?
Yes, definitely. There's chance till you pass Bhakti-sastri. You get many chances.
But because 26th is the examination, and 19th is the oral.
Hmm. Yes.
Okay, Prabhuji, let this 26th goes, then we will think. Then I will think. I may be able to give, I may not be able to give.
Okay.
Okay,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji,
Thanks.
even
Then
I
we
have.
pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, since 19th is the oral, I will be in Vrindavan. So, is there a possibility?
Whatever it may be, don't worry about whether you can give that day or not give that day at that time, not at that time. You just message me on WhatsApp, and whatever is the issue, we'll deal with it.
Okay, Prabhuji. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. All right.
Prabhuji,
So
this
stop.
shloka exam is only the shlokas to memorize, right? Nothing from the pranam mantras, right?
Yeah, only the unit 1 shlokas.
Only ones. Okay, sure. Thank you, Prabhuji.